actually 2023.
Could be 2025.
Probably.
Whether you in a car, room, office, or tomb, Myron in the morning got to talk for all the news.
Being the first guest on Sports Time Remind, we hitting the road, y'all.
Yeah.
We live on location. I always wanted to say that, man. So
we all love knuckleheads, bro. Shout out to Rich, shout out to Darius Miles. Love what they
always
do,
wanted
man.
to say that, man. We live on location. Shout out to my cameraman JB, showing love. But man, it's good to have you here, Chris, down here in Atlanta, man. How's life been, man?
Life's been crazy. You know, it's been a lot of changes in the last year for me, but I'm definitely excited about the opportunities I've been doing right now. Just taking all my experience and just starting to take the lead on stuff now, so it's good.
Stuff just kind of evolving and changing for you. I want to
absolutely
try to take you back. What does Saturday, March 29th, 2013 mean to you?
29th?
2013.
It was the 29th?
Saturday, yeah. I think it was March 29th, 2013.
I think it might have been like the 21st or something like that, 22nd, but it's all good. It don't really matter. I mean, that's 10 years ago we won that chip, you know, high school state championship at the Breslin Center against Detroit Community, yeah. I just remember illness. Like, the whole team pretty much had the flu. Nobody really knows that.
Y'all had the pizza, the Michael Jordan pizza?
No, I legit caught influenza A and B, like the week of the Final Four. And against Flint Powers in the quarterfinals up in Imlay City on that Tuesday.
Dang.
I was sick as a dog. And I still had this cold little layup from like, I took off for the third hatch. I was like, whoopie whoopie, yeah. But yeah, no, it was crazy. I got sick and then Maury got sick. Austin Jones, like a lot of us we just was past. I mean, obviously we in practice, right? I missed practice like most of that week.
The week leading up to
the chip. Yeah, like if you went back and watched the game against Cadillac and the semis, you could see me visibly about to like pass out. It was bad, but it wasn't nothing that was gonna keep me from trying to be a part of that moment. And I was better. Thank the Most High that I was straight the next day.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, for the final when we played Community. You know, because that was a big task at hand, having to go against both.
I was gonna say you were the person. Y'all didn't really. It's weird if you look at that year, even though y'all only lost 3 games. Coming into it, that season, people really wasn't looking at that DCDT because y'all didn't have a big.
We didn't have a footer.
Y'all didn't have a footer. Let's just keep it honest. And, you know, DCD was known for a footer at that time.
Always.
But DeShante Riley, y'all kept
Donovan Kurt Williams.
Yep, Amir Williams.
We had Robertus Palakis come over from Lithuania like my junior year. You know,
y'all kept a big fella. And this year, you at 6'4", 6'5", playing the 4 position.
Yeah.
Mo Ways wasn't much bigger than you.
We were about the same size.
He was playing the 5, man.
Yeah.
What was, I mean, like I said, title game, you get matched with Bo Ziegler.
Yeah.
You know? And everybody from Detroit know Bo Ziegler.
Yeah.
Bo was a problem.
He was. Bo is cool. I won't say I'm close to him, but I do know him.
Yeah.
And it was funny because like when I met him, it was like the year before, it was like the summer before my senior year. So like the summer before we matched up. And I just remember when I was in the 8th grade, I played for Power Stroke. Shout out Benny Fowler and those boys. And I remember that's when I wasn't that good. I was just coming up. And I remember going over for a layup and Bo. It was this at Joe Dumars. And you know that little net behind the main court on the NBA court? He threw it over the net. Like, scarred me. I was like, I don't know if I'm made for this hoop stuff. Like, it's different. But, you know, coming from Bloomfield and then going to the city for the first time playing against that. Now I'm seeing what real basketball is.
Yeah.
So to match up with him in the senior year, it was like, I don't know, it's like some sort of vindication for me. Where it's like, all right, like, if we win this, like, it's like kind of like my own revenge, my own silly way.
You took that assignment. Like,
yeah.
You know,
I took it personally. It's crazy because me and him weren't actually matched up at first. I was supposed to be on Jarrell Martin.
Okay.
And Mo was supposed to get Bo. But me and Mo looked at each other, and Mo was like, nah, you got Bo tonight. Yeah. He like slapped on my chest, like he trusted me with that assignment.
So. With that assignment, go out and stop a D1 player, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
Bo could go.
Yeah, South Florida, George Washington, he was overseas for a little while. I don't know if he still is, but no, that's a good player right there.
And what was y'all was led by, you know, future #1 player in the state, guard Edmund Sumner. And he was a junior that year, as you were the senior, the captain of the team.
He was the captain too.
How was looking at a young buck like Edmund step up in that game? Him and Austin Price played fantastic for y'all against the Detroit Community.
I mean, I can't really call Edmund a young buck because at that point, that was his second year running the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He ran the show for most of his sophomore year. There was some back and forth between him and another guard, but I knew Edmund was special when I seen him. I remember vividly when I was in the 9th grade. I walked over to the Cooper Gymnasium, the more newer gym, and Edmund was in the 8th grade. Him and Maury Diani, and I remember seeing Edmund like after practice just putting in work, and I'm like, "Dang, this kid like different."
In
like,
high school,
and this is a middle school. This was in 8th grade.
This is 8th grade.
I was like, "Yo, this dude is different." At that point, he was like 5'9".
Yeah.
So then his freshman year, we played JV together, and he was averaging like 27 a game on JV, and I was like, "Nah, he's different.
Yeah.
He's different." And so, by the time he was a junior, it's just awesome to see like how he fleshed out and just like the work that he put in. And like the one thing I always like really like admired about him was his confidence. Like it didn't seem like anything really shook him. Like he always just gonna play his game. And like that's something like I really respected about him for sure.
Going into the flu game, all y'all sick, and he wasn't really worried.
No, I don't think any of us were really worried about it. Like I don't think Edmund got that. I don't think Edmund was sick. I think he was fine, but like it was just one of those moments where it was like, yo, like they counted us out in the beginning of the year, but like we knew what we could do, and we knew like if we had controlled the pace, that we could run anybody out of the gym.
What was it like playing at a school like DCD? A school with so much history. Coach Keener won so many championships at DCD.
Right.
What was it like just playing for Detroit Country Day? The shoes that you had to fill. Did y'all ever get some of those alumni to come to practice? Some of those summer runs. We heard about the summer runs that DCD used to do.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, when growing up, it's funny. I grew up living at Cranbrook. My mom worked at Cranbrook for like 20-some years, and I remember living on that campus. But I remember whenever we would drive to Detroit, we would drive down Lasser. You know what I'm saying? So you go down Lasser, you go past Maple, you hit 14, you hit 13. Look to the right, that's Country Day.
There.
You know what I'm saying? And so for me, like knowing Chris Wright went there, knowing Shane Bade went there, when I was in the 8th grade, that's when my mom, had me go test over there, and I went to the districts game, and I'm looking at a starting lineup with Ray McCallum, with Deshaunte Riley, with Donovan Kirk, and then you got guys like Amir Williams, Chris Fowler, Lee Bailey coming off the bench.
Yeah, that team was
Devin
crazy.
Pikinen, like that team was crazy, and so like Jordan Dumars started too.
Yep.
Joe Dumars' son, and like so for me it was crazy because like when I went there it was like, okay, if I go here, like as long as I put the work in, I'm gonna be good. But I really didn't understand at that time like what it really took to be great. The level
of what it took.
I didn't understand what it took to be great back then. And my big bro Chris Fowler, like he started to take me under his wing. And that's when I started to understand, oh no, this is another level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I definitely had to adjust. Oh, for sure. I mean, gym, like, people in the gym during their free period, like people getting lifts in during free block.
Like that was not happening at Andover.
No,
it was not happening at Andover.
It was not a joke. It was not a joke, bro. Like they had the weight room. So like for me, just being in that environment, it just took me to another level, just naturally, just because that was the environment I was in.
Yeah, just the ground there.
Yeah.
And then, so after you win that title, what kind of was your basketball options? Once you get a state title, a couple of D1 doors might open up. I know you eventually ended up at Amherst, a D3 powerhouse that we'll talk about in a little bit. Yeah. But how did you end up at Amherst? From DCD.
Yeah. So, it's a complicated story. I got recruited late. I feel like I was a late bloomer.
Undersized big man, 6'4".
I mean, I wasn't really. It wasn't really. I was a big man. It was more or less like I was so athletic and versatile and willing to do whatever the team needed that I could guard anybody.
Hence the name C-Flight.
I could guard anybody. Like it could be a footer, whatever. Like I was doing it because that's what they needed from me. And so honestly, I just had to play to my strengths, and fit in where I could because you already said Edmund Sumner, Austin Price, Maury. I knew what it was. Like that wasn't gonna be my team. I had to just be, come in and fit in, be a glue guy. So I think honestly, I played a couple tournaments. I had a lot of Division III entries, a lot of high academic schools, and honestly, I just had to be real with myself. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like it was either go walk on at a D1. I could have walked on at a handful of D1s, but for me, I had to think about the bigger picture, like what I want my life to look like. I knew I wanted to work in sports. After I finished hooping. And so I feel like Amherst was a great spot to do it because there's such a strong alumni base that's gone there and like gone to work in different leagues, whether it's baseball, football, basketball, whatever. And so I saw a path, and I was like, all right, you know what, like, you know, you got guys going to Amherst and then going overseas. Like my guy Willie Workman's been playing in Israel for 10 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for me, it's like, all right, like if I really want to go pro, I can do it from here. It might not be the league, right? But it could be overseas. There's so many leagues
that are paying you to hoop.
Exactly.
Paying you to play a game.
Exactly.
You know?
And so, you know, so honestly, it came down to the fact that, you know, I ain't had no D1 offers by the end of it. Not scholarships. I had walk-ons. I had about 5 or 6 walk-on spots I could have went to. But I was like, let me just go get the best education. Yeah, and that's what I went and did. So that was my...
Amherst, like you said, a strong alumni base. Smaller school, but 1,800 kids,
yeah, like
maybe?
1,800, yeah.
It's only undergrad.
Yeah, only undergrad.
But a powerhouse. I mean, when you joined there, they just came off like a 32-win season.
They had won a national championship.
Just won a national title.
Yeah.
Your freshman year, y'all only lose 4 to 5 games. What was it like just being around from DCD to that, and just so much winning? Even though, you know, freshman year, you probably didn't play as much as you wanted to.
Yeah.
What was that freshman year journey like?
Honestly, it was really hard. You know, you come from a brand of basketball at Country Day where we're running and gunning. You know, we're taking advantage of mismatches, and you know, we got guys that are just so talented it didn't quite matter what we ran.
Yeah, for real.
Right? Like I wasn't making reads. Like people were making reads for me to get the ball and go score.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I was a willing passer. Like I saw things on the court, but like I didn't understand the game. Like I had to. When I got to college, and Amherst, like a totally different style. Like it's not just like high screen rolls all game and like just attack, you know, fast break pushing. No. Like it was a 4-out-1 in read and react. You know what I'm saying? I had to understand how to make reads off those, you know, coming off those. Exactly. You know, reading the defender. You know, if the defender turn their head, cutting back, with the dribble at,
open shoulders,
right?
All that.
Coming off the pick and roll, having a drive in the corner, shake up. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that. Just stuff I just wasn't taught. And I was also coming from a situation where I was a big in high school, trying to go to the wing in college. So it was a lot of learning my freshman year. And honestly, like, you know, I played a little bit in some games, but like looking back, I understand, like, I just didn't see the game the way I needed to at that point. And so that was a huge learning.
Was it fast?
In terms of the game?
Yeah, like the game.
It's not like people are fast, it's the decision making.
The decision making, the time for you to do this reading reaction was a lot quicker than it was in high school. Shot clock. Especially coming from Michigan, right? You put a whole shot clock in, that's a whole new different.
Yeah, now you're talking about well, at that time it was 35 seconds. You know, when I first got there, it switched to 30. I think my sophomore junior year, but yeah, it was just different. You know, it was really high IQ basketball, and that's how come we were so good. Yeah, you know.
And so after that freshman year, you kind of probably hit you in the face a little bit, like, okay, this is what I need to do. Yeah. My off season heading into my sophomore season. Yeah. And I know you talked to me a little bit. You was kind of getting some confidence back. You know, started feeling yourself, and then you kind of got hit with your first injury. You know, kind of that sophomore season. Man, talk about that setback. You get so built up. You work so hard to get to this moment. To catch up to the game, and then something boom like that happened.
It's so weird talking about this because, like, you know, I played D3 ball. Like, I wasn't like any all nothing. Yeah. So it's hilarious to talk about sometimes. But yeah, I mean, I was playing well. I think coach was excited for me to come off my freshman year, having learned what I learned and like applying it during the fall, like playing pickup with the guys. Like, I remember walking into the office for my final meeting before we started the season, and coach was like, you know, we're excited about you. Like, you're much more. You're seeing the floor a lot better now, and like you get it. And I remember first practice I played, like, I was killing it. I was pretty sure I was going to be in the rotation. You know, being in rotation at Amherst is a big deal because, like, there's a lot of good players. But for me, it was like, all right, bet. Like, I got it down. Like, I felt good. Like, I felt like I was in the flow. And then I got hit in the face by my teammate. And I woke up the next day with a concussion.
Missed a bunch of weeks.
I missed basically the whole season.
And see, you said, like, something about, like, you know, you didn't play all of anything. But for real, D3 basketball got a lot of talented guards and wings. I think the biggest difference when you watch D3 ball from a D1 is big men that can walk and chew gum. It's not too many, ain't too many big guys you see it in D3 that are like above the size of 6'8" that actually know how to catch and turn around.
Well, we had all those guys on our team for the most part. Us and like Williams and like a couple of the NESCACs, UAAs.
See,
like, they all were kind of in the same different conferences.
Mm-hmm. And all pretty good ball players. You know? So no, sure. D3's got some talent out there.
We all could have played D1 somewhere if we wanted to.
D3's got some talent there. You know, Duncan Robinson, shout out, came from a D3 school.
That's my guy.
You know, so that D3 ball is different, but like you said, it's a lot more IQ, a lot more learning the actual game.
Absolutely, a lot of really good coaches in D3, honestly, that really care about the game and want to learn and teach because they're like a lot of them are trying to move up. Yeah. So they would have shown that they can coach. so they actually have to coach.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you can't just. It's no just rolling the ball out there.
Right, you can't just.
I got a couple of 5-star recruits, a couple of 4-stars who actually know how to put in the hole.
You'd be surprised. Some of them teams, especially during this tournament, it's crazy to see some teams in the tournament that still play like some AAU type brand of ball.
Yeah.
Like, it's really wild.
Yeah, you look at like I was at Amherst and we had to know we had no way more playbook than this, way more basketball.
It wasn't even playbook. It was just making reads. Like, you know, we had our plays and stuff like that, but like we had a system that we operated out of, like, to make good decisions.
Yeah, most of these teams are running my system.
No, it's like for me, it was like, you know, coming into a situation like that, it's like, man, I actually got to think the game. Like, it made me a better player, but then, like, you know, when I ended up eventually coaching there, I saw basketball a lot differently. When
did you was it after that first concussion, going into your sophomore year, where you kind of start thinking about life after ball, or was it not until the ACL injury the next year where you was just like, maybe I got to start thinking about what can happen if this hooping thing doesn't pay off?
I can't lie, like, you know, when I came to Amherst, like, I thought I wanted to, you know, go be an NBA GM or something like that. So I always kind of had that in mind, but, like, I didn't think I would ever end up coaching. Like, that was just like, yeah, all right. But when I tore my ACL that summer and I stayed at home and coached that country day, which wasn't even supposed to be a coaching gig, it started, I was like, I wanted to do some analytics projects. And then, like, coach came up to me like, bro, like, you want a chip here, like, you're a captain, they respect you, like, I need you to speak up. I'm like, all right, cool, I got you. Yeah. And I started doing that.
Just fell right in your lap.
They gravitated to me, and I was like, well, honestly, when you're honest with players and you, like, just, like, build a genuine relationship with them, like, they will respect you. It's really not that hard if you're a good person. It's just not a lot of good people coaching sometimes, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of bad people coaching.
A lot of people coaching for the wrong
reasons,
and the wrong incentives that come out of it.
Exactly. But
and you were just looking out, showing love to the players, so they respect that. And like I said, you went through the grind already. You did it before,
right?
So you can really show what that was like. So you coached at DCD for a little bit,
just for a year. Took a year from school. So
then you go back to Amherst.
Yeah, went back
to finish off.
Yeah. So I went back my junior year. I had pulled my hamstring real bad, like, the summer right before I went back to school. So I wasn't quite ready when I got back. By the time I got ready back into a rhythm, like, the rotation was set. Yeah. So it was just kind of like, all right, I guess I gotta wait till my senior year, you know, like, just get 1 year tape, you know, go overseas, whatever. Mm-hmm. But then, like, the spring of my junior year, I got, like, another concussion, and I had so many at that point, so I had to shut it down.
You look back at that ever now and just be like, damn, I wish I would have played 30, 40, 50 college games, or you just look back at it and say it kind of really all kind of played out how it was supposed to play?
I mean,
or was there still some sadness there?
It's hard because, like, you know, you try to make the best decision with what you know at that time. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I was doing it over again, right? Like, if I just won the chip right now and I had all the knowledge that I have now, there's no way I'm going there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way. I'm going to prep school. I'm doing a 5th year somewhere. Because one, I was already young. I was 17 when I got to school. Okay. So I was already on the younger side. And I knew I needed more development. And by the time I got to my freshman year, like, that's when it started to come together. Going into my sophomore year, I was really good. Like, I'm not saying that just to say it. Like, I was in pro-ams in the summer in Michigan giving pros buckets. Yeah. Like, I'm not saying that.
That's when the game started to slow down for you.
Yeah. And then, like, certain people who I worked out with, it was like, how are you playing D3? You playing D1, D2? I'm like, I'm just doing what I got to do. You know what I mean? So I definitely wouldn't have went that route. I would have went a different route, but I'm not mad that I did because, like, my life was pretty cool.
Yeah, you ended up at a good spot. Yeah. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. You know, life after Amherst. You know, you New York Liberty for a little bit. Yeah. How did you make that crossover? Because you were coaching at Amherst as an assistant coach for the girls team, men's team. At that time, men's team. How did you cross over to the WNBA side? I see the sweatshirt you got on. Shout out to WNBA. What's that like? How was that crossover?
It was fine. I mean, I grew up on a shock. I've always had my hand. Shock,
swing cash.
Bro, I gotta tell you a story. I gotta tell you a story about Swinn Cash. I have to tell you this story. So, I think my senior spring, I'm in Mass, and the Connecticut Sun play about an hour and a half away. Okay. In Mohegan Sun, this casino. It's in, like, Eastern Connecticut. It's kind of middle of nowhere. Anyway, so the Connecticut Sun had their preseason 14 tournament. So it was like the Liberty, the Wings, the Connecticut Sun, and, like, I forget the other team that was there. I bought a seat. I bought a ticket to go see this player that I went to high school with, Ariel Powers, but she wasn't playing. But anyway, She was like hurt or something like that. But I just remember I was sitting down and this lady walked by me and she sat down next to me, and she has a baby. I'm looking at her, I'm like, she looks familiar. I'm like, but I ain't thinking nothing of it. So like her son like kept dropping stuff, so he like dropped his like bottle or something. I pick it up, like, here you go. Like she a queen. Like, I'm look out for a queen. You feel me? Like, I ain't about to just let her sit there and like struggle. Like, if I can help, I help. Like, obviously within reason, not like overstep. But so we just get to talking with her, and I was like, yeah, like, she's like, yeah, I work for the Liberty. I'm the chief operating director of franchise development, something like that. And I forget. Oh, word. I'm still looking at her like, she looks familiar. Who is
I
that?
know this person from somewhere.
Is that? So then we start I was like, yeah. She's like, oh, like, I forgot how we got on the subject, but somebody got on the subject of like how did I get interested in the W or something like that. And I was telling her how I grew up in Detroit on the Shock. Mind you, I'm sitting next to Swinn Cash. The whole time this is Swinn Cash. So let's just bring it up right now. I'm sitting next to Swinn Cash. I'm talking to Swinn Cash, and I did not realize it was Swinn Cash.
No idea.
I was sick to my stomach. Now she's like the executive vice president of basketball ops for the Pelicans. It's like, bruh, like, I really just didn't realize who I was sitting with. But for me, it's like, even if I did, I like to keep it calm anyway. Yeah. I'm not the type of person, but that's yeah. But anyway, so back to Liberty. So yeah, so I got that internship. It was an internship. I knew this guy in the league office. He's still there. Good guy, and he connected me with the GM. I sent the GM some like analytics reports I did for Amherst. And he liked it. He was like, oh, like, you gonna come on and be my intern? I was like, yeah. Like, it's a W, yes. Yeah. Like, it's a good first step for me. I learned a lot in that internship. It was very, very demanding in terms of just, like, me having to figure out stuff. Like, I usually I learn on the fly. And so I just took the approach of that's when I really started to become more of, like, a lifelong learner. Understand, okay, like, you don't stop in college. Like, you gotta always be learning. Yeah, it's not like you go to school, you get your master's, whatever, and that's it. No, like, you always have to keep learning. Especially in my field of data science, like, you always have to keep learning because there's always something new.
So analytics, such a broad term they just throw around in basketball now. Yeah, everything's just, they say analytics as a broad term. So like, as working with the Liberty, what would you say you really focused on the most? Since analytics is just such a...
I focused on, so like, basically how do we value players and how do we project them? So like, what is the expectation that I have for a player going into next season? If that player meets that expectation, if we think that player is going to beat that expectation, probably more likely to take, want to get that player. Yeah. If that player is like, if we project the player to be good. But there's also other standpoint, like, okay, like, who do we have now on our roster? How are they going to fare over the next few seasons? How do we arrange our roster so that we can be prepared to be a contender in the future?
And you're combining that with points per game, with efficiency,
I'm looking at all types of stuff.
Plus and minus, with everything.
Yeah, I mean, back then...
Different type of matchups, how they play together.
Yeah, back then I wasn't, like, as smart as I am now. I didn't know as much. So back then it was, like, just purely, I might take, like, win shares or some type of all-in-one metric and then try to project that forward. Okay. Based on, like, age and, like, stuff like that. And just, like, taking the data from the past and just using it to try to understand what I think is going to happen going forward. So, honestly, like, it was a lot of that, and then in the season, it was just like looking at lineup rotations, which, if I had to do it now, it would have been a lot different, but it's all good. That's why we learn, right?
So you live it, you go through it, and you have it for the next step. So you got the Liberty. I know I saw you were able to work with Penny Hardaway in Memphis for a little bit as well on his staff. Well, not really on the staff, but on
like I was working remote for Cody Topper, one of the assistant coaches. I met Penny a couple times, really nice guy, but I mainly worked for Cody. Yeah, who used to coach in the NBA and was at LSU now. Yeah, so that kind of happened because I thought I was gonna be getting a job with the Pistons, but then they didn't take me. So my homie connected me with Memphis with Cody, and we just basically rebuilt what he built and had in Phoenix. So like it was a group of 4 of us, and like we just went to work and what we had to do. So it was cool. It was a good time. I learned a lot, and I feel like that really helped me, go forward towards, working in the NBA. That one was like coaching.
Yeah, the NBA moment. What was like a big turning point? Would you say in your life? Big moment there when you was just kind of switch gears. Took it to the next level. I know.
I think at the end of the Liberty internship because. It didn't quite go the way I would have liked it to, but it made me realize, okay, I have to work harder. I have to do more. Like, I have to be locked in. Because if I'm not going to get what I want. And I feel like that's when it just kicked in, like, all right, like, I really just got to lock in. and I locked it in like for a solid like year and a half before I got to the Bucks.
I was gonna say,
still super locked in.
Then you became an NBA champion.
Yeah.
Then you became
Shout
an
out Giannis.
NBA champion with the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
Talk about that ride, because you go to a small market team like the Bucks that hasn't won a title anytime recently.
It's like 50 years.
And you always hear the players say after they win, shout out to everybody in the organization, not just the 15 guys in jerseys, but shout out to every single person in our organization. And that's the type of, they're talking to you when they say that type of stuff. So what was that like, that run, that season, the work you did with the Bucks?
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
It was weird. It was weird because we were in the middle of the pandemic. And so I wasn't in office. I was working from home. So most of the time I felt pretty disconnected until they invited us out. So they invited us out during the playoffs. So they flew me out for the finals.
So the regular season, you guys are kind of...
I was at the crib.
Distant Zoom. You guys are like Zoom co-workers, distant co-workers.
Exactly. I had never met any of them in person. Like, I didn't meet my co-workers until the finals.
Until the finals, the playoffs.
That's literally when I first met them. It was so weird. It felt like I was talking to somebody on Tinder for like 4 years.
Yeah.
4 months, you know what I'm saying? It was weird. You know what I'm saying? But it was a weird ride. But it was awesome. I mean, I think the craziest thing about it is like, I don't even think we thought we had a chance that year.
Yeah.
Like,
I didn't think.
I like, for me, it was like, I saw Kevin and Kyrie and I was like, and James, and I'm like, if they're healthy, they're clearly the best team.
Yeah.
You know, in the East. And they were destroying us until Kyrie got hurt and James got hurt. So for me, it was like, oh, that's just the grace of God, because like, ain't no way we were supposed to win that series.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. But we did. We had to. You got to play who's in front of you, and we were absolutely very much a very talented team that year. I feel like we overperformed during the regular season, underperformed during the regular season, but we also like had a brand new roster. Like, people forget, like, that roster had got ate up. You know, that offseason prior to, like, we signed Bobby Portis, we signed, we traded for Drew Holiday, you know, we just had a completely different roster, you know, and Dante stepped up into that certain role and he got hurt, you know, in the first round against Miami. So, like, I think, you know, I wasn't too sure how it was going to pan out, but I just remember doing some work and just noticing some things, and I'm pushing it to my manager, and we're pushing stuff as a group, and I thought we did some awesome work there, you know, as a group. Like, a lot of really smart people.
Helped a little bit.
Absolutely, because I think the thing that people don't understand, I think, is that, like, we have a lot of information on that side. Like, more information than people can even imagine.
Yeah, more than you just got on ESPN.
Bro, because, like, even before I got in, I was still, like, an analytics person. Like, I really try to look for stuff, but I didn't realize the extent of, like, what they track. And, like,
they track a lot of information.
They track, like, bro, I can tell you, I'll be able to tell you what's Giannis's efficiency against drop coverage, against double teams, against the blitz, against whatever. Like, I know how well Chris comes off pin downs and how efficient he is. You know, like, I know, like, there was just so much where it's like, dang, like, I can actually tell the story of basketball through data.
Yeah.
I can talk about basketball through data. I can actually communicate in hoop terms. It doesn't have to be, it's not about numbers, it's about how well are you doing.
Yeah.
It's really that simple.
That's all you use the analytics for.
Yeah. It's not like, oh, like, this person is a number. No, we're literally telling you what this person has done, and we want to tell you what we expect this person to do based on what they have done.
They're giving you with the same exact...
Because we're just measuring performance. We're measuring what's going on. That's all it is.
Yeah, it's not word.
No.
Analytics is like some spooky term.
Well, it's because I feel like part of the problem is that, like, there's just a lot of ego, you know, in general. Yeah. And so I think that, like, when it comes down to, like, just having a conversation about basketball and just weaving it, that's why I really like JJ Redick a lot, because I feel like he talks about hoops but also does a good job bringing in data. It ain't perfect, but, like, it's like a start.
Yeah, he's doing better than most.
Yeah, it's just like, if people really sat down and just had the conversation, like there's so many people who I've talked to who are coaches, and I explain to them, like, my perspective, and they're like, oh, like, that makes sense. Like, it's really not all that bad.
Yeah,
it's not.
When you told me about it, I was like, oh, I didn't think that was. I thought analytics was way more than that.
No, I mean, yeah.
But it was still a lot more. But it was still fairly, like you said, it's still.
I always say, like, the hardest part about analytics is just having the skill set to deal with the data. You know what I'm saying? But, like, at the end of the day, you're trying to solve a problem, and there are methods for you that you go about to solve those problems. Yes, it's not easy. No, it's not easy at all. Everybody be doing it. It's hard, but the communication piece is supposed to bring it back to the theme of the subject you're studying, which is basketball. So if you're not talking about hoops with your information, like
you're not doing random numbers for no reason.
Exactly. It's just
So they finally invited y'all out as a team. You said for the finals. What was that? What was that first home game? NBA final game in Milwaukee.
Oh,
like,
game 3?
What was that like when y'all finally got it?
Oh man, bro.
The atmosphere.
That's when I don't know if they had started before. All I know is when I was there, and they was chanting Bobby's name, Bobby Portis.
Yeah.
It was rocking.
Bobby was a fan favorite. Is a fan favorite
still. Yeah, still is. I still the president of Milwaukee at this point. He run the city. No, but it was like really, really cool because it's my first time at Fiserv, and it's a beautiful arena. And just like the admiration that the fans have for the players, and just like, excuse me, how much they love Giannis is just insane. Like, but it was really cool. It was a really good atmosphere. And it was just it was really surreal, especially.
Right. So. After the Bucks, you get the ring, but while you're working with the Bucks, you're working with the Connecticut Sun for the free 99, showing love. Yeah. But the Suns went to the finals too, the WNBA finals.
They did this past season.
What was just what's your job duty as analytics? Is there a big difference from helping out the Bucks? The Connecticut Sun.
When I was with the Sun, I was an advanced scout, so I was scouting Chicago Sky the whole year.
Oh, so you were.
I was going to Chicago Sky games and just like
inside
scouting. Yeah, I was scouting.
Scouting. Okay.
Yeah, which was cool because it gave me a chance to like evaluate and prepare for like a game like a coach does. And that was some of the experience I didn't get with the Bucks. Like the Bucks was just pure front office research to like be able to be on a coaching, like not on a staff, but to work with a staff.
Work with the staff
of that caliber. I thought was really awesome.
That was fun.
And they really respected what I did. You know, because everyone I showed up to practice one day. I was in their film session, and Coach introduced me. And Coach Kurt Miller, he was like, yeah, like, this is one of our talented scouts. And I was like, I appreciate you. Show me love. I said what's up to them. And
let me get a hoodie. Let me get a hoodie.
Shout out Jasmine Thomas. She was the point guard there at the time. She's in LA now with Kurt. And she was mad cool. You know, it was cool to like meet them and see them in person. And just like, it made it feel more real. Yeah. But it was cool. It was dope. I really enjoyed it. It gave me another perspective that I needed to keep fresh because like, the Bucks is just all research. Right? That's my lane. I had to stay in my lane. You know, that's just what it was. Yeah. And so I left the Bucks because, honestly, like for me, there's just a lot of personal stuff I was dealing with. Yeah. You know, some health issues and whatnot, and I feel like I needed to take a step back and reevaluate, you know, where I wanted to go in my life. You know, when it came to the NBA and stuff like that. And so I ended up stepping away and taking on an entirely different new challenge where now I'm like, I oversee like this. Coaching research for it's like a sports data company, Pivot Analysis. So I'm the director of coaching analytics there. We work with college coaches and stuff like that.
To make your own analytics to give to other teams.
Yeah, like we have our own data that we source, like public available data, and then we I take it and like create metrics and like develop reports and stuff like that, and I work with coaches to help them implement that stuff into their game plan.
Do you have any interest, you think, from all the scouting that you did and coaching you did a little bit to even get into the coaching realm of things? Or do you like being on the
consulting side?
The consultant side, the analytical side.
I think for me, like the goal when working for the Bucks was to take a weird route to get to being a coach. It has been done before, but like going to analytics to coaching route was like what I wanted to do. Okay. But sometimes you just gotta look at the path and understand where your opportunities are in art. And I knew that I had to change my direction to like get to where I wanted to get to.
Yeah, dreams change along the journey.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I always say like it's funny when like I'll try to make a plan for myself, but then like the Most High like directs me in a whole different way.
The plan,
it's like I don't have no control over this anyway, so let me just sit back and do what I got to do, be a good person, and just let God lead the way.
Yeah,
you
follow the plan.
Exactly.
And take the wheel, your side, 100%. That's so. I like to end the interview. I want to know if. Who is Christien Wright? What would you say? Who are you as a person? You know, how would you want to be remembered? You know, Christien Wright himself.
Like my legacy. Like what do I want my legacy to be? That's interesting. I never thought about my legacy in that way because like I don't really think I'm anybody like that great right now. Like I'm doing cool stuff, but
but you can touch somebody's life somewhere. So I have, but
maybe
not who's your what's your legacy, but you know, just who is Christien Wright? Yeah, who are you?
I don't know. I'm a cool guy. I'm a fun guy. That's what I say. Honestly, I mean, at the end of the day, first and foremost, like, you know, I'm a follower of, you know, the Most High and the Savior, and like that's what I do. That's me at the core, and I think that's how it emanates through what I do. You know, God gave me certain gifts that I want to act on and try to magnify, you know, for His glory, because it ain't in my control. Anyway, so just want to be able to take advantage of those gifts, and I think I have the gift of love and compassion. I love people. I love helping people grow and see them grow and be the best versions of themselves and see their worth. And I think a lot of that comes from just the way I was raised as a person, but also just like this innate love I have, right, that we all sort of have.
Yeah.
You know, and I think just connecting with people and just trying to learn from people and just be the best version of myself that I can. Like, that's really who I am. You know, it ain't nothing really more to that, honestly. Yeah. You know, like what I do and who I am are completely different things.
Yep.
Like, just because I do analytics, that doesn't make me who I am. That's what I do. That's not my identity. My identity is with the Most High.
That's what I wanted to ask. That's always a big question.
Yeah.
Hey, man, that's a wrap. That's a real one. Yes, Chris Wright, baby. Appreciate you, man, stopping by on the show. And,
whether you in a car, room, office, or tomb, Myron in the morning got to talk for all.